As much as building healthy habits is my self-proclaimed jam, I get almost as many questions about how to break bad habits. So I'm going to be diving into my strategies on how to break bad habits. Before I do though, please give this video a like if you find it helpful, subscribe to my channel and hit that bell to be notified every time I release a new video so you don't miss a thing. And if you are new here, welcome. I'm Coach Mack, the founding health coach of Running with Bacon, where I help women feel like themselves again via fitness, one small step at a time. Now, before I get into the breaking bad habits strategies, I do have one disclaimer that a bad habit is relative. It's whatever you are considering to be a bad habit, but don't let someone else or society or an Instagram fitness model tell you what a bad habit is. You decide which habits you have in your life that are no longer serving you, that you want to change, that you wish weren't there, or what have you. You get to decide that, not someone else. And remember that that definition might change in different stages and different seasons of your life. So now, to breaking bad habits, there are a few different strategies that we can use for that. The first being heading back to BJ Fogg's behavior model, which check out the last video if you missed that. So it basically says we can make things easier and lower the motivation to do them. So if we want to flip that and make something harder to do, then we would have to increase the motivations. Essentially, make it really hard to do the bad habit, because then you would have to have a massive amount of motivation to really want to do it. Another thing that we could do, again, using BJ Fogg's model, is remove the prompt. So if you have a reminder in your phone, if it's something that you do, if you drive past a thing every day and that's your prompt to do it, that's your reminder of like, oh, I need to stop and get this coffee, even though you don't really need that coffee, take a different route home. It's something as simple as that, that if you break the habit and you essentially do it enough times that it's no longer a habit anymore, then after say a few weeks or a month or whatever, you can drive right past it and it's not a habit anymore. You don't get that same craving from it because it's not an ingrained habit. Another strategy we can do is to take James Clear's 4 laws, which again, in the last video, if you missed that, but we can take them and reverse them. So before we were trying to make something visible, attractive, easy, and satisfying. So in order to break a bad habit, we actually just flip each of those and find ways to make it invisible. So put something in the back of the refrigerator so you don't see it, or the freezer. I'm thinking ice cream in this case. So put the ice cream all the way in the back of the freezer so that you don't see it every time you open it just to grab some ice, right? So make it invisible, make it unattractive. So similar thing where you can just make it something that it doesn't actually look appealing anymore. And then you can, instead of making it easy, you can make it hard. We already talked about that one. And then instead of making it satisfying, you can make it unsatisfying. So remember in our behavior model where we have the prompt, the habit, and then the reward, we'll make it not rewarding, make it not satisfying, make the outcome something that you don't want to have happen. So the 4 laws, again, in reverse, or to break a bad habit, make it invisible, make it unattractive, make it hard, and make it unsatisfying. So take whatever your bad habit is, find a way to do one of those 4 things, and you can break that bad habit. Another strategy for breaking a bad habit that you don't want is to put some type of friction or roadblock in the way. So that kind of goes in line with the last 2 strategies of making something harder. So if you put a roadblock or add friction to the thing, you're less likely to do it. Again, we have these lazy lizard brains that we choose the path of least resistance when it comes to habits. So for example, if you want to stop eating chocolate, if that's the bad habit you want to break, don't keep it in the house, because the odds of you getting in the car and going to the store to get some just to do that habit or to satisfy that craving, it's very low. So if you remove it from the house, it becomes way easier to get out of that repetitive loop if it's not in the house. Because getting in the car and going to the store, that's not part of the loop. Same thing if you have trouble after work, you find yourself continuing to work, like every few minutes, you go sit at your computer and you do one more thing, and then you go back to whatever, and then come back to your computer and do one more thing. Well, power down your computer at the end of the workday rather than just closing it or putting it to sleep, because just that little bit of extra waiting time for it to power back up is enough incentive for you to not do it. It's enough friction that you will not want to do it. You'll get annoyed at having to wait. So put that friction or that roadblock in your way, and that can help you break a bad habit. It's funny how we don't think those little things like waiting for a computer to boot up would matter, but they really do. Just like in good habits, checking off a box doesn't seem like it should be incentive enough for us to want to do it, but it really is. Our brains are very simple and easily rewarded or dissuaded. So keep that in mind when we're talking about making them or breaking habits. The last strategy I have for breaking a bad habit is to actually replace your bad habit. So something that I have experimented with every month inside of my Fit by Bit membership, we do a different challenge. And October is always Sober October. And so I have to break my evening cocktail habit. And I do that by actually swapping it out with something that is not a cocktail, but it is very similar. So I do some kind of combination of sparkling water, something like that. And it replaces the cocktail, but I still get the habitual, repetitive, like the motion of it, the thing that's comforting, that's like, it signals the end of my day. And I just get that big feeling. And I can get that because it's not the alcohol, it's not coursing through my veins after my first sip, right? So I can get the same effect. I go through the same motions when I am mixing up some type of sparkling water mocktail. And so you can replace the bad habit with something that is more in line with your healthier goals. So it's not necessarily breaking the habit altogether, but replacing the bad part of it or the unwanted part of it. And then as a little bonus, if you are not necessarily looking to break the bad habit, but you want to make it either more productive or change it in a way so that you feel better about this bad habit, you can do something called temptation bundling. And what that is, it's a form of habit stacking where anytime I'm doing one thing, I might be doing another thing. Perfect example, the best way I can describe temptation bundling is, say that you want to scroll Instagram less. Make a rule for yourself that the only time you can scroll Instagram is when you are on your Peloton. Riding your Peloton looks a whole lot more appealing because you get to scroll Instagram, right? So you can bundle that temptation of scrolling with something that you know is more productive and healthier for you so that it does become a better habit, not necessarily a good habit, but you can take your bad habit and make it not so bad. And trust me, I have all kinds of examples of temptation bundlings, like stretching while I'm watching Real Housewives or going for a run while I listen to some trashy romance novel audiobook. There's all kinds of examples of this. And you can do any of these unwanted or bad habits, flip it and turn it into something that's productive that you can do while you're indulging in your bad or unwanted habit. So to recap, you can make your bad habit harder. You can make it less attractive. You can make it less satisfying. You can put in some friction in there. You can replace it with a different habit or a different thing that's still the same habit, but like my mocktail idea. Or you can temptation bundle it. There are all kinds of ways to go about breaking bad habits and turning them into something that could be a healthy habit in waiting. Speaking of healthy habit in waiting, I have one waiting for you in the form of my free Fit in 5 5-day challenge, which I am going to put a link in the description box below where you can sign up. Start off with a good habit of moving your body just 5 minutes for 5 days in a row. Hopefully from there, it will build and continue. And then you won't even need to worry about breaking a bad movement habit because you will start off on the right track. So sign up again in the description box. There's a link, sign up there, and I will be in your inbox shortly.